Okay, so welcome to the Believe webinar. My name is Brenda Walton. Um, I am the creator of the Worthy program. It's a 6-step process that helps my clients become fearless, unstoppable, and wildly successful. Um, I I have been doing coaching and RIM work. You saw that I offered a complimentary session. I will be offering a complimentary session to folks because of the confusion with the Zoom line. So I'm a certified RIM facilitator. I'm a certified positive psychology practitioner. I'm a master practitioner uh, in neurolinguistics programming, and I absolutely love supporting people to work through those beliefs that they have that are keeping them from living their best life, keeping them from becoming, as I said before, fearless, unstoppable, and wildly successful. And I care very deeply about that because it, I went through my own journey to get where I am today. I have probably struggled with many of the same things that my clients have in terms of their own worthiness. And once I truly stepped into and began owning my worth and valuing myself the way that others valued me, I found that things in my life really started to shift, and I had massive change and wonderful things beginning to happen. So I'm excited about this webinar. I'm glad that folks were able to join us at the new date and time. So let's get started. I'm going to turn my camera off and then you can see more of the full screen. So why is confidence so important? Self-esteem is how we view ourselves, our own value, and our own sense of worthiness. And it's a critical component of our decision-making, risk-taking, and motivation. It's so critical, and it's changed, as I said, my results in my life so noticeably and dramatically that folks around me started saying, "What's going on? What are you doing?" So those with lower self-esteem tend to believe that they're not worthy of the same things as others do. I often will talk to my clients and they'll say, well, my friends and my family are successful, but they work hard at it. And they don't actually recognize themselves that they're worthy of those same great things as well, too. So they don't see themselves as achieving their personal goals. And whereas folks with higher self-esteem, they embody a sense of resiliency and they overcome obstacles because they're sure, they're confident without a moment's hesitation that they deserve those outcomes that they're seeking, that they're striving for. So think of one thing that you hold a lot of value in. Um, One client I spoke to, she held a lot of value in gardening, for example. And she would make sure that she put a lot of energy into keeping the garden well watered and weeded. She even spent extra effort in researching plants that she wanted to grow to ensure that she created the right growing conditions. And when I had a conversation with her about self-esteem, I said to her, it's really the same thing. You just need to um, uh, exert the same sort of care and attention to yourself as you would to caring and attending for your garden, which is your passion. So that's when she started to sort of see that she wasn't tending to um, her own self the way that she would her passions and her dreams for, say, gardening, the way that she did with that. Healthy self-esteem or value in oneself breeds self-confidence. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but as you even take one step forward in uh, uh, increasing your self-esteem, the more that you do that, the more that you step into that, the more it breeds confidence in yourself. And that might feel or sound a little odd right now, because I know when people first started talking to me about that, I thought, yeah, right. But the truth is that the more that you step into it and embrace it, the more it becomes just sort of a everyday belief for yourself. So if you look up confidence, it's actually defined as a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's own appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. And a lack of self-confidence keeps us from living our lives to our fullest. We become afraid to freely express ourselves, to contribute ideas, or even share our talents. I call it we're living small. I before I even began this journey, I often would hold myself back. I wouldn't express myself in meetings. I wouldn't say what my needs were in the relationships that I had, both romantic relationships and even relationships with family members. I often would hold back and not really stand in my own worth. And that's what led me on the journey and the creation of the Worthy program. Some of the benefits of becoming more confident include more happiness and enjoyment, less self-doubt and limitations, gained strength in capabilities. I use the example often of if we never learned to ride a bike, how would we gain confidence in learning how to ride a bike or even walk or do those kinds of things? So once we gain some strength in something, our capabilities grow. Some other benefits include freedom from fear and anxiety. So if fear and anxiety are holding you back, focusing on growing your self-confidence will help you overcome some of that. It'll help with reduction in stress. It'll become a natural motivator. So people who are self-confident are just naturally motivated. So if you're struggling with motivation, increasing your self-confidence will help with that. And probably the biggest and the one that was most noticeable for me and many of my clients is really greater and more attainable success. And so I guess my question to you right now would be, are you interested in making that shift, in moving from a sort of self-doubt and lacking confidence to having a stronger sense of self-worth? Oh yes, thanks, Gil. That's great. So so let's move on then. So this is a really important question. How do you talk to yourself? Are you harsh and judgmental, or are you supportive and loving? I have often referred to inner self-talk as that inner bully. I don't have to worry about other bullies out there, because sometimes the things that I've heard myself say to myself or my clients say to themselves, it really is harsh and negative and judgmental and in every sense of the word, the inner bully. We all talk to ourselves. Sometimes, if I'm having a difficult day, sometimes I even talk to myself out loud. But there are two distinguishable modes of talking to ourselves. One is instructional, so like working through a task, and one is motivational, such as I can do this. So if you're working through a task, you might be talking or thinking through the steps that you need to do. But the other one is motivational, where you really you become your own inner coach and you really inspire action and change the way that you would see a coach inspiring an elite athlete. And it's the motivational self-talk that's so closely tied to our confidence levels and and what, at the end of the day, what we believe we're capable of. So focusing on that is one of the first steps in improving self-confidence, and being truly aware of how do you talk to yourself? Is it harsh and judgmental, or is it supportive and loving? There's a great study out of the Faculty of Physical Education and Sports Sciences at the University of Tehran in Iran. They conducted this study of how motivational self-talk improves basketball abilities. So they worked with over 150 students, and the results concluded that positive self-talk and a can-do attitude actually improved their speed and accuracy versus the control group that didn't use those motivational skills, that positive self-talk. And so if you can have that kind of positive impact in basketball, you can apply those same sort of practices in any sort of focus that you have in your life, that you want to, area that you want to improve or do better in. So believing and telling yourself that you're capable of a task, even a physical one, contributes to you excelling at it. And I find it pretty remarkable. I'm constantly fascinated by how our mindset and our brains can really motivate and empower us and move us forward in ways that we, hadn't even really imagined prior to really focusing on how we talk to ourselves. So what happens when you don't talk so nicely to yourself? Talking negatively to yourself can have different outcomes, but they all sort of have a common theme. And the common theme is it's just not productive. Negative self-talk can be fueled by a number of things, and some non-productive outcomes would include irrational beliefs about yourself. The client that comes to mind when I reference that is a woman that I worked with who was highly educated. She had multiple degrees, but she had a belief about herself that she wasn't smart. And she had evidence to the contrary, but she had this belief that she wasn't smart, and it stemmed from some things that she had been told as a child, that she wasn't smart, and therefore she carried that belief forward with her, despite the fact that she had multiple degrees. So some non-productive outcomes are irrational beliefs about herself, an irrational belief that she wasn't smart. It can contribute to bad moods if it's not addressed. It can lead to things like persistent pessimism. Don't believe that good things are going to happen, or that there's always, I remember I was taught even as a young child that bad things happen in threes. And if you really think that and believe that all the time, you'll find evidence to prove that. But if you believe that good things will happen, it's fascinating how many times you'll just see great things happening because your mind and your brain is looking for those things. Some other non-productive outcomes are fear and anxiety. And these are all very real things that most of us experience. But the trick is stopping them in their tracks. If we do not enforce our negative beliefs, they have no power over us. So once I stopped the negative talk, once my clients stop their negative talk, it's fascinating. And it's like this light comes on, and all of a sudden things start clicking for them and things start working. And it's because they've started to believe in themselves instead of doubting in themselves. Some examples of the kind of negative self-talk that I often hear people using, I've used some of these myself as well too. So it's things like, I'm not worth it. I don't deserve that great relationship. I don't deserve that promotion. I'm not educated enough to deserve that promotion. There's no use in me even trying to learn how to be a gourmet chef. I just don't know how to do that. People won't like me. Have you ever either been that person or observed people kind of hanging back in a crowd because they don't believe people will like them, or they won't have anything worthwhile to say. Probably the biggest one that I hear is, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not educated enough. I hear others are better than me, or my opinions don't matter. Nothing ever goes right in my life, and I have to be perfect. And the truth is, nobody is perfect. But people with positive self-image have a comfort level with the fact that we're imperfect human beings, but we're perfectly deserving of everything that we hope and desire for. So up next, I'm going to be sharing some examples of what to tell yourself instead of these negative self-talk examples that I just shared with you. So our minds are powerful machines. The thoughts that we produce can translate into action, and that's how we truly achieve greatness. However, if we're filling our minds with negative comments about ourselves or our circumstances, we're creating boundaries for ourselves that we otherwise would need to overcome. So think of your mind as a computer. If you had a computer or you've done any computer work, you know that it has to be programmed for efficiency in order to run smoothly and to complete its task. Whatever you're doing on the computer, that's the key. It needs to be programmed for efficiency in order for it to run smoothly and do whatever task it's been assigned. And your mind's exactly the same way. So if your programming is, if you have negative self-talk and you're not programming your mind to run smoothly and efficiently, it's going to be more difficult to complete that task. It's going to take longer. So instead of negative self-talk, I'm going to give you some examples that you could use instead. So I have found that the greatest thing is self-awareness. Now that I know and understand the power of what I believe, I can catch myself, I can catch my clients when they're in the midst of negative self-talk and help them course correct really quickly. And they can use some of these examples that get them back on track to being, to getting their minds and their hearts running efficiently and smoothly again. So some examples would be, I can handle this. I'm making progress. One step forward is progress. So celebrate the fact that you're making progress because it inspires you to make more progress. I'm in control of this situation. I'm willing to try. There's lots of things that I found myself doing recently, that I found my clients doing, that they never imagined they would do. And all they need to do is have a willingness to try, and trying it reinforces an ability to keep doing it and to expand the positive self-talk and the belief in themselves. Some other examples would be, I have many likable qualities. I don't need to compare myself to others. I am complete just as I am. That's a really powerful one. I find that when people really start to believe that they're perfect and whole and complete just exactly the way they are, that's when some massive shifts happen for them. And even as simple as, it's normal to feel this way. So being aware when you're in that state of negative self-talk and shifting to a more powerful, positive way of speaking to yourself, with a few of those examples I just shared with you. I wanted to share with you also a quote that I really love from John Lennon, and it's, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. So even I find surrounding myself with powerful, positive, motivational quotes like that, even when I'm having a rough day, even when my clients are having a rough day, it can be a simple quote like that, an inspirational, motivational quote like that, that is the thing that will pull them back out and move back into more powerful positivity mindset. So if you guys have, those of you who are on, if you wanted to share any of your favorite phrases that you tell yourself when you're presented with a struggle and share with the other folks on the call, this is an opportunity for you to do that now. I'll try and catch them as they pop up. I'm going to move on to the next slide, but yeah, I'll watch for them and see and share, make sure everybody sees and hears those positive messages that you're sharing with each other when they show up. I said this earlier, I'm perfect, whole, and complete just the way I am. That's a powerful message to really begin to embrace. We're imperfect human beings, but we're perfect and whole just the way that we are. Mantras and affirmations. I saw one just pop up here. Thanks, Gil. Your daughter loves you. You must be awesome. That's a great one. Great example. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with the rest of the folks on the line. Mantras and affirmations are two forms of self-talk that are used specifically to cultivate self-care. I have a practice of actually listening to affirmations and mantras. Usually when I go to sleep, I like to have my brain in a very empowered, positive, powerful way as I go to sleep. And I find when I'm listening to mantras or affirmations, that's what my brain goes to sleep thinking about. And when I'm sleeping, it's ruminating on that while I sleep. And so it's building more and building more self-confidence and self-care. Much like positive self-talk that I've mentioned before, the main form of, or the main purpose, I guess, is of mantras and affirmations is to rewire your brain for a more confident and optimistic outlook. And the main difference is they can be more powerful, I guess is what I'm trying to say, when you say them out loud. I like to do them, as I mentioned, when I'm going to sleep, because I just find that repetitiveness really works well for me. But when you can say them out loud and hear your own voice saying them, they become even more powerful. They can be either words or sounds. So there's lots of mantras or affirmations or meditation tapes that you can listen to that are music only, but they inspire your mind and your brain to go to a more positive place than some other sounds around us might evoke. It's about taking our brain and our minds out of that busyness and that negative self-talk and really intentionally focusing it into a meditative state or a calming emotion so that we reinforce that belief pattern. Many of you are probably familiar with the Om mantra that's often practiced in yoga. And it's the sound, the Om sound, that vibrates at the same vibrational frequency throughout everything in nature. And that's why it's considered such a sacred sound. So it's so powerful in yoga. And even listening to that Om mantra can be equally empowering, positive, and uplifting for you. I don't know if you know or not, but affirmations were developed by neuroscientists in the 1970s with the goal of redirecting thought patterns. They're performed out loud, and I had said before, and the key times to saying them is, I do them in the evenings, but another key time to say them is in the morning. There is a great exercise. It's called the mirror exercise, if you haven't heard of it. And it's actually looking at yourself in a mirror repeating affirmations, be positive and loving and kind and gentle with yourself. And really, there's that great video, and I can't think of the little girl's name, but you see her in the bathroom, and I think her name's Jessica, and you're smart and you're beautiful, and she just gets so excited. And if you haven't seen it, Google it on YouTube. It's such a great video. But the strength and the power of what she is teaching her beautiful little brain at that time is so impressive. And I wish I had known about that when I was her age, because I just imagine where my life would be today had I had that sort of mindset when I was a little girl. And the truth is, it's never comfortable the first couple of times that you look in the mirror and do affirmations. And the real key, if you're going to do it, to looking into a mirror, is look directly into your own eyes. Look as if you're talking to yourself, and let those words resonate to your very soul. And that, truthfully, for someone who struggles with self-confidence, is a very awkward and weird thing to do. I have a friend, and she made a commitment to do that with herself for a year. She wanted to just see what that would be like for her to do that for an entire year. So she made that commitment, and she stuck with it. And she has now done that mirror exercise. I think she's going on 3 or maybe even 4 years now. And she does it every single day. And the shift that's happened in her life is just magical to see. And she pushed through the awkwardness because she felt it was so important to do. So some of the things that you might think about saying to yourself, and if you don't have a pen and you want to grab one, now's a good time, because I'm going to share some great affirmations that you could use in that mirror exercise. So some of the things that you might say when you're looking into your eyes and in the mirror in the morning doing the mirror exercise is, I love who I have become. Just own that. Just let that settle in and let that sink in, and be okay with that, even if it's weird in the beginning. I love who I've become. Another one is, I let go of negative thoughts and feelings about myself. That will almost instantly evoke a feeling, because especially for folks who struggle with negative self-talk, there will be this sort of visceral feeling that you have that says, well, that feels like BS. But just own it. I let go of negative thoughts and feelings about myself. And the more that you can repeat that, the more that it will feel comfortable, and the more that you truly will be able to let go of those negative thoughts and feelings about yourself. Another great one is, I am always growing and developing. Like I said, one step forward every single day is growth, and it's towards movement in a positive direction. It's always a good one to say. Another one is, my opinions resonate with who I am. And one of my favorite ones is, I'm whole and perfect the way that I am. I'm perfect, whole, and complete just the way I am. So having a practice of mantras or positive affirmations can help. There's research, tons of research around the impact of those kinds of things. And the results indicate that it helps with problem solving. It will help you with gaining greater inner clarity. So people, I've had lots of clients who really struggle with, what's my purpose? What's my life purpose? And it's really interesting to watch just how a few days or weeks of practicing positive affirmations helps them gain that inner clarity that they're kind of looking for. And it doesn't have to be anything more than that. It increases positive emotions, so that you're experiencing more days where you're having just generally good days versus the difficult or challenging ones that you might have when you're in the midst of negative self-talk. It increases the likelihood of personal success, and ultimately it of course, increases self-confidence. If you have any of your own mantras or affirmations and you want to share them down below, again, this is an opportunity for you to do that with. I have a favorite one that I always like to share as it relates to my feelings of worthiness in terms of financial success. And it's the mantra that I use so that I increase my beliefs around financial success is, I'm a magnet for money. Prosperity of every kind is drawn to me. And the more that I believe that, the more that random checks show up in my mail, the more clients that come to me, the greater opportunities for contract work comes to me. I love that one. It's one of my favorite ones. And again, the more I believe in positive, good outcomes and that I'm worthy of financial success, the more that I attract to myself. Habits can either propel you in the direction of your goals, or they can steer you off the path of them. And we all have habits. They have the power to contribute to a powerful outcome, or they can limit us and hold us back. And there's a ton of books that have been written about this. One of them is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. It's a fantastic read on how our everyday habits affect the way we see ourselves and our likeliness of achieving our goals. He looks into defining a keystone habit as a powerful tool to uncover our true potential. So for example, if you're if you want to develop a daily exercise routine, it's likely that you'll notice yourself choosing to eat healthier, waking up early, utilizing your time more efficiently through the day. So finding those habits that reinforce the goal that you want to achieve, which is, a daily exercise routine. You start creating other positive changes in your life that support those that goal and that dream. So whatever you have, whatever your desired keystone habit might be, the idea of working towards it will create a ripple effect. It'll change other routines in your daily life. If you believe you can change and make it a habit, the change becomes real. And this is the real power of habit. So like my friend, the example I shared around the mirror exercise, she struggled with it at first, but she believed so much in the power of what that exercise would achieve for her that she made a commitment to do it for an entire year without fail. And B, she pushed through the difficult times where she began to start to doubt herself, because she believed so deeply in the outcome of what that would achieve for her. And so she just changed her habit doing that. So think about some of the habits that you're looking to implement, some of the changes that you're wanting to make in your current life situation, and how can you reinforce new habits and things that would help you increase the power of the change of that habit. What sort of things would create that constant flow of change and productive behaviors. So and then just go for it. All successful people have this unifying characteristic, and that's they set goals for themselves. So if you look at any person that you sort of see as super successful, they most likely will have some sort of goal. They may not have it written out. They may not really even identify it as a goal, but they're often highly goal driven. Look at successful athletes, look at um, uh, actors, look at inventors, look at people who start their own business. I actually was having a conversation with someone earlier today, and they said that in their small community there was a new coffee shop opening up, and the comment was around, during this COVID time, is it really the right time to be opening up a business? But they were so positive in their belief that their business was going to be successful that they just moved forward with it. And the person that I was speaking to was so inspired by that their intention now is to do what they can to support this small business who's starting up, despite all the odds that might prevent them from being successful. And so positive action not only inspires ourselves, but it inspires others to support us in our dreams along our way. So normally people are comfortable with doing what's always worked for them. So they stick to the sort of tried and true, and they don't really set goals for themselves, and therefore they have sort of limited success in really achieving the life that they dream of. But that's more likely to change if you think about changing those habits. And just like anything else, if you want to get really good at something, just keep practicing setting goals for yourself, practicing whatever it takes to move towards them, identifying any sort of things that pop up. Might it be negative self-talk or challenges, and how do you push through them? How do you work through them? Every single time that you overcome one of those obstacles, it strengthens your confidence in yourself. So I just wanted to also close this section with a few tips to make sure that you get the most out of goal setting, which is a great activity to undertake. Don't worry about the end goal. Have it as a constant and present awareness, because that's the direction you're heading. But take small steps. Achieve the first step, and then achieve the second step, and then achieve the third step. And because sometimes people get overwhelmed and consumed with this really big goal or really big dream. But if you can take one step towards it every single day, you'll be fascinated with how far you've gone in just a very short period of time. If you just focus on what's the next thing I need to do, what do I need to accomplish now, what needs to happen next. Sometimes people map it out in a timeline, but whatever it takes, just take that one step forward. And it may seem odd, but celebrate every single step, because it's motivational. It encourages you to take the next step, but it also reinforces that confident mindset that I can do this. I've accomplished this. Now I'm going to tackle the next thing. And really accept that failure is not a reason to give up. Every step forward is a positive one, and sometimes you need to take a step back. And that's okay, because maybe that step back is what you needed to course correct and get back on track. So it's not a negative to fail, as long as you learn from the lessons that you get in that step backwards, or whatever might be a challenge that you've overcome. There's always a lesson in those challenges, and just don't give up. I think about this often, that our beliefs in ourselves are really about becoming our own best friend. We often treat our friends and our family and our coworkers way better than we treat ourselves. And what if we directed that same sort of best friend energy inward that we do to the extent external world? And I would say up until recently, um, thanks, Gail. So important. You wouldn't let someone talk to your best friend the way the critics treat you sometimes. I agree. Um, I was just about to say that I think this COVID pandemic that some of us have been dealing with for a while now has been really interesting in terms of um, some of us were literally forced through this pandemic to slow down and to find some more things to do from a self-care best friend perspective. Some of us, my family, lots of us were sent home from our work and couldn't go into our offices anymore. Some of us, some folks even lost jobs. But those that took the time and the blessing truly that was given to us to really take the time, because in this ever connected world and busyness of day-to-day stuff, do we ever truly take time for ourselves? So I have great concern and care for all the people who are struggling with it, but the people that I see really thriving through this are the people that said, I'm going to take this time for me. I'm going to use this sort of imposed time and become my own best friend, find things that I'm interested in. I've heard lots of stories of people just completely shifting their career focus or their passions and focusing more on their passions and dreams, and really really seeing some interesting changes as a result of that. So some of the benefits that you're going to find from becoming your own best friend is this self-awareness, a greater sense of self and purpose, um, an ability to support and comfort yourself. Once I became really aware of the power of my thoughts, I became way more aware of when I was in that, and I became way more capable of caring for myself when I got into those spaces and that negative self-talk. And I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't taken that time to become my own best friend. Um, there's generally an increased acceptance of self rather than criticism and punishment. And at the very core of it is that you begin to really realize that fundamentally you're worthy. So becoming your own best friend really creates some positive results that way. Spending time alone. So finding that sacred space where you're happy and you can create some positive habits is a great activity to add into your life. It might be a walk in the park. It might be, one of my favorite things is to sit by a creek or a river and just have my feet in the water and just feel the water flowing over my feet. But finding those sacred spaces or times where you can just truly be with self and appreciate the present moment and all that is there with you and what you have in your life. Might be reading a book. It might be some other sort of hobby or pursuit. I know people who get literally lost when they're crafting or doing some sort of creative, either painting or creating music. So whatever it is, to find that space for absolute self-care and time with self creates a greater sense of inner awareness. So again, I'm going to give you another opportunity to share if you want. Share some of the things. I shared a few of mine, but share some of the things that you like to do alone in the practice or pursuit of self-care. What are some of those things that you do that just really get you into that place of being almost lost in self and completely consumed by something that just truly makes your heart sing? And while folks are typing stuff down, I'm going to move on and I'll catch the comments as they pop up. Gail says, I'm sitting on a dock now with our foster dog. So lovely to listen to you outside rather than in the office. Yeah, it's not. I actually had an opportunity recently to sit on my back deck and participate in a conference call. And they said they noticed, they couldn't hear the sound around me, but they noticed that my mood and my mindset in the conference call was entirely different because I was in a place where I was in beautiful surroundings and I was in a relaxed, beautiful chair. So yeah, sitting on a dock with a foster dog would definitely inspire me to be in a much better place with self. Thanks, Gil. Meditate. Stress in our lives is, for the most part, it's unavoidable. We're always going to have stressors, whether it's a car that's driving in front of you or the last person you just had a conversation with, or the door doesn't close properly and now that's another thing at the house that you have to fix. Whatever it is, there's always going to be something that happens that triggers some stress in us. But managing it is one of the most important ways of respecting yourself. And meditation is one of the ways to sort of cultivate a practice of getting out of stress and into a more grounded, present focused mindset. Meditation, it works by directing your body's attention through the parasympathetic nervous system, or as it's better known as the relax response. So it triggers feelings of calmness and well-being, and all the while it contributes to clarity against any limiting beliefs that we might have ourselves. It essentially just quiets the mind and takes you to a different state. And I do meditation often so much that when I hear meditation music, maybe I'm in a spa or I'm in a setting where that music is playing, it's like my mind and my body is already preconditioned to that energy and that sound, that I just go into this deeply relaxed state, and it's almost instant when I'm around that kind of music. It can be an incredible tool for confidence building in several ways. So it can help you confront negative beliefs that you've created about yourself. It can invite opportunity to spend quality time with yourself, and it can become a beneficial habit that you just add into your daily routine. Some people do it self-guided. Some people there's apps on the iPhone that you can use to just listen to an affirmation or a guided meditation. Find whatever works for you. For me, music works more than spoken meditations, but find what works for you and have a regular practice of it, so that it becomes second nature to just be able to go into this deeply meditative state and calm the mind and turn off the stress and the anxiety that might be happening. Another way to really help boost self-confidence and self-esteem is journaling. And I know there's a lot of talk about journaling. If you haven't heard about it, there's a lot of um, different coaches and teachers and trainers that talk about journaling, but there's a lot of power in the same way that I shared with you about the mirror exercise. When you look deeply into your own eyes, there's a lot of power in putting pen to paper and having words expressed through your own handwriting, or maybe it's you do it on a computer, whatever it is, but letting that energy flow out unedited, unvarnished, and just letting it be there for whatever it's meant to be. It's such a powerful tool to use. You can use journaling for times when you're feeling stuck on something, and just let even the stuckness about whatever it is just flow. I'm feeling frustrated. I don't know what the next step is for me to do, and just let it flow. And it's interesting to see that even through that activity of putting those thoughts out and expressing them outwards, it's like it creates a void, and all of a sudden there's space now in your brain and your mind for opportunities and ideas to flow in, if you let that other energy out, that stress, that anxiety, whatever the stuckness might be. So there's value in that. And even writing out, say you've had a negative experience, it it's a way of releasing even emotions that are attached to it. So we maybe would have a negative experience from childhood, or from school, or something our parents or families said, and writing that out and releasing that energy creates more space for positive self-talk and increased confidence. So it's such a powerful tool. I like to also use what I call a gratitude or awesomeness journal, because I think sometimes we don't take the time to truly appreciate, with gratitude, some of the awesomeness that occurs in our lives. And like I said earlier, if you spend your whole day looking for 3 negative things to happen, you're going to find 3 negative things that happen. But if you also intentionally spend every day looking for the awesomeness or things to be grateful for, they show up all around you. And it until you experience it, it's hard to sort of imagine that that's truly what would happen, but it is. Once you get into that state of gratitude, or observing all the awesomeness around you, you start to recognize it and see it more frequently than you would anything else. It puts you in a positive of seeing that on a day-to-day basis. So whether it's written in a physical notebook, or whether you some people have blogs and they do it on the blogs, or whether like some people just I've seen people use their phones and have like a journal on their phone that they, traveling on the bus or sitting on the dock with your foster dog, are doing some journaling there and capturing it there. And so whatever it is, just find what works for you and take the time to start today if you haven't started already. But it's such a powerful tool. And I'm gonna give you some, I call them journal prompts, things that you could look at, or if you're feeling like you don't know how to get started with a journal, they're prompts that can actually help you stimulate some thought. So some prompts, if you want to write some of these down, some prompts that can help build or boost self-confidence, practice self-love, and really to begin your writing journey. So here are some that I would suggest. The first one being, what am I grateful for? And if you really sit with that and let the words flow, I think it'll be interesting to see how your gratitude for the things that you have or in your life evolve. Thanks for joining, Patty. Sorry you have to go. Um, uh, what do I want to feel tomorrow? So if you had maybe a challenging day today, what experience do you want to have tomorrow? How do you want tomorrow to be for you? And to journal about that and think about that and wake up and actually experience that the next day. What a powerful way to do that. What did I do, or how did I surprise myself this week? Was there something that happened that kind of was a surprise to you? It can be a positive surprise that, I didn't think I would get that contract, or I didn't think that, I didn't think I could do those home rentals by myself. What surprised you about yourself this week? Another one that's really good is, what am I good at? If you actually want to practice some self-care, take some time to really reflect on what is it that you're really good at. And the list might seem small at first, but if you sit with it for a while, it's such a great way of just practicing some self-care. Another great one is, how would my best friend describe me? So if you were to ask your best friend how they see you, does it truly align with how you see yourself? So take that time to write out what you think your best friend, someone you're really close with, would say about you as some of your positive qualities, and see what shows up, and if any of those things would actually surprise you as coming from you. What makes me unique? So what are those things about you that are uniquely you, that nobody else is quite like that you have? Who appreciates me? So that's another great one. If you sit down and think about who in your world or your life actually appreciates you, it stimulates a appreciation response within yourself, and appreciation begets appreciation. So another great one is, what will I accomplish in the next 5 years? So we do an exercise at one of my events where we have a come as you'll be in 5 years party. So you embody what you see yourself doing or being in 5 years, whatever it might be, and you take on that persona, and you be that person for the evening. And it's really interesting to watch people step into that and embrace that. But if you haven't really thought about where you want to be, or what you want to accomplish in the next 5 years, this is a great time to start that and do some journaling about that. Another great prompt would be, what's the best compliment I've ever received? And another one of the second to last ones I have here for you is, what emotions do I associate with confidence? So if you're trying to build confidence, what emotions do you associate with confidence? And the final one I wanted to share with you, and it's a really great one, is if you're journaling and you haven't yet written a letter to your body thanking it for all the things that it does for you, think about how empowering that could be. So you might be experiencing some aches and pains, or you might have some health things that you're struggling with, but there's so many things that your body does for you right now to just truly be grateful for, that by writing a letter to your body and thanking it for all that it does can be a really positive and empowering experience. So if you have any other suggestions that you want to share, go ahead and put them in the chat box now. Sorry, I think I did that without the mute on, and I wasn't my intention. I thought I hit the mute button, so apologies for that. Um, So while we're on the topic or subject of journaling, a really effective way to check in with yourself and to establish um, some motivation to reach your goals is to write a letter to your future self. That's another really powerful journaling technique. And it can be really insightful. It can put you in the now and represent the things that you want to be sure you remember, and write a letter to yourself for you to read 5 years from now. What would, if you were to write that letter, what would you want to say to yourself? What sort of things are you struggling with today that you would be absolutely confident you could overcome in 5 years from now? And think about how powerful that would be to sort of see that letter 5 years from now. There's a great website, and it's www.futureme.org, where you can actually go online and you can create a future me letter that gets sent to your email inbox. 5 years, you can set the date, the time frame that you want it to arrive in. And so you write the letter and you truly release it and receive it when you set the time frame for it to receive. And it's such a, I think when you write it, it's one thing. When you receive those words back to yourself, that you very thoughtfully and carefully wrote to yourself, it can be an incredibly powerful experience. Just looking at the comment box, I see Gail asked to share the little girl mirror quote, the one that you wished you'd known. It's not an actual quote, it's on YouTube, and I'll find it. What I'll do is I'll find it and I'll make sure I include it in the replay email when I send it out. It's a YouTube video, and it's such a, she's such an awesome little girl that I just wish every little girl, every young person, boy or girl, or other, if they identify in other ways, but every young person could see that and experience that level of belief in oneself as she does. It's such an awesome little video. So I'll find that and make sure that it's in the replay email when I send it out. So moving on. A visual interpretation of your goals, your values, or your passions is a great way to also bring life to your dreams. And they're often referred to as vision boards, where you use magazines and cut out images or words that represent what you hold near and dear in terms of your goals and your values and passions. But I've also seen it, I've seen people do them online. I personally am a scrapbooker. That's one of my crafts of choice. So I created a scrapbook, and my vision board is in a scrapbook. And so I have it on my nightstand, and I review it each night. I look at it, and I can take, it's one of the smaller scrapbooks that I can tuck in my suitcase when I'm traveling, and I can take it with me. It's more challenging to take a vision board down off the wall and take it with you when you travel, but I have mine in a format that's easily transportable. But the purpose of a vision board, or whatever creative way that you want to create it, is to really put definition to your intentions. What do you want to do? What do you want to feel? What is it that you need or want in your life? And then gather the supplies. So I gathered my scrapbooking supplies, but if you're going to do a vision board, you could do it on a poster board, or you can do it on a whiteboard, or even a blank. I have another friend that has one of those clear plexiglass stands that she writes her goals and vision out on a piece of paper, and it sits on the corner of her desk, and she looks at it every time she sits at her desk and does work. So find what works for you, but go through the experience of creating a vision board or a scrapbook or whatever works for you, and find and use images or words that resonate with you in terms of your intention, in terms of your goals and values and passions. And you can get them from anywhere. So you can get them off the internet, you can get them from magazines, you know, crafters will know what a Cricut machine is, and you can do it with that. So just find what works for you and just be really creative with it. Have fun with it. Create something that really inspires you and fits with who you are and the vision that you have for your life. And then be even in the layout of them. So in my scrapbook, I embellished things. So on some pages where I really wanted to accentuate something, I even put like sparkly rhinestones and things like that on it. So have fun and create whatever you want with it, and make it as personal to you as you can. Anybody have any other ideas that other than ones I've shared in terms of vision boarding and things that you've done that's worked really well for you? And again, I'll move on, but I'll watch for the comments as they pop up here. So a strong support system is an important tool to have when life gets a bit heavy for you. As I mentioned before, building self-confidence is a work in process, and it's not necessarily a completely linear process. There will be times when you face challenges or experience setbacks, but that constant forward movement is the thing to really focus on. Some days are going to feel better than others. Like the mirror exercise that I mentioned, sometimes it's going to feel weird and sometimes it's going to feel perfectly normal. But find your rhythm, find the space that works right for you, and especially find the external support that is powerful and uplifting, and that supports your goals and dreams. We all have enough of our own self-talk that you don't need to surround yourself with people who don't support and believe in your dreams, because negative self-talk will fill in those voids for you, which you're going to overcome. But you don't need to surround yourself with people who will crush your dreams. You need to surround yourself with people who push yourself to be the best version of you that you are. And there really is no substitute for having people that you can trust and rely on to make you feel good. I turn to the people that I trust and rely on when I need to talk about something, even if I've had maybe I've had a challenging work interaction and I just need to express it and get it out and release it so it's not weighing me down and disrupting me for my next client or conversation or whatever it needs to be. And I have those people in my life where I can just say, I need to get this off my chest. I don't need you to solve the problem for me. I just need to be able to release it and let it go. And they're the kind of people who take that for me. They know they don't need to do anything with it. They just need to hold the space for me to be able to express that and get it off my chest and out of that negative self-talk loop that I might be in, and let it go so that I can move back into being my best self and move forward. And so find those people and hold them dear. And the truth is, in finding those people, You may become very aware of the people that are currently in your life who are not supportive, who don't push you to be your best self. And and it's okay to be okay with letting some of those people go. Our habits have been to hold on to everyone, regardless of who they are, positive or negative in our life. And in order to be really empowered, in order to be truly standing in your own worth, to believe in your own um, self abilities to achieve and have good things in your life, you might have to make some of those changes, and it's okay, because the people who had been in your life served a purpose too. So just bless them and send them on their way, because there's someone that they need to serve better than they need to serve you. um, I love this one, and it's one of the steps in my Worthy program. So my Worthy is an acronym that stands for wake up, own your power, relate with love, uh, trust self and source, honor your past, and say yes to life. So each of the letters in Worthy stands for one of those steps. And the O in Worthy is about owning your power. And in my in some of my presentations that I do, keynotes that I do, I talk about the fearlessness that we had when we were kids. We saw everything as possibilities. There was no um, our negative self-talk at that time was unbeknownst to us. It's as we grew and become adults that we started to believe all of that negative stuff about ourselves that we had become conditioned to. But when we were, this age and beautiful little young beings, we had no negative self-talk. We just saw everything as possibilities, and that's the kind of um, owning your power that I really love to see folks step back into, and believing in possibility, and knowing that you can do or be anything you want to be. And what a great way to sort of reframe our thinking about um, ourselves and our beliefs in ourselves. Um, there's also a great TED Talk. If you haven't seen TED Talks, just go to www.ted.com and then look up Amy Cuddy, Cuddy. She has a great video on there around the power of our body language, and she talks about the power poses. So for women, it would be sort of the Wonder Woman pose, and for men, it would be Superman or Captain America or whichever sort of superhero. And if you look at the poses that they have, those are called the power poses. And even using power poses or a body language to embody a sense of self-confidence and empowerment is another great tool or resource to have a look at. So if you haven't listened to anything by Amy Cuddy, it's a great video that she's got around body language and how it shapes who you are. And don't forget to love yourself. So this is by far the most important part of the process. Some days you're going to feel more confident than others, but it's a huge feat to just love yourself through all of it. Said this before, but you're perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. Even when you're not feeling like it, even when you feel like you don't deserve to be loved, even when you're sure you should remind yourself constantly that you're not worthy, just remember that you are. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And people have different ways of sort of expressing self-love. Some things that I've heard of that are great ways of self-care. And I need to say this right now: self-care isn't selfish. It's empowering, it builds confidence, it um, boosts motivation. So it isn't selfish to care for yourself. It's actually very caring, and a great way to sort of build confidence and self-esteem. And some examples of things that you might do, and I'd love to hear what others do for self-care, but might be a long bath, it might be a walk outside, it might be just sleeping in late one day and allowing that to be okay. Might be catching up for a conversation with an old friend, to go electronics free for the weekend and just totally unplug. Go to meet a friend and go to one of your favorite coffee shops, or even plan a hike or go somewhere. So there's so many ideas out there around self-care, that are so worth exploring, but just find one that's perfect for you. Mine is I love a beautiful bath, and the warmness of the water, and I have candles, and I have essential oils, and the aromas from that just put me into an absolutely um, beautiful space. So find what works for you, and make sure you make time for self-care and self-love. Uh, and I just have a few more slides, but I wanted to share with you a few more quotes, some of my favorites, before we close. And as I'm sharing them, if folks have others that they want to share in the chat box, that's great too. Um, so the first one is, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. That's from Buddha. The next one is, remember always that you not only have the right to be an individual, you have an obligation to be one. And that's Eleanor Roosevelt. The next one is, why should we worry about what others think of us? Do we have more confidence in their opinions than we do of our own? And that's Brigham Young. The next one is, too many people overvalue what they are not and undervalue what they are. That's Malcolm S. Forbes. The next one is, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. That's Louise Hay. Just two more here. The next one is, to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. That's Oscar Wilde. And the final one is, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt. So if anyone has any other ones they want to share, that's great. But I always like to just sort of close with a few great quotes like that. And I wanted to just say thank you. Thank you for joining me despite the change in date and time, and the challenges with Zoom on our earlier scheduled call. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for caring enough about yourself to make this webinar important and show up and be present in it. So thank you for being here with me. I love this topic. It's everything that I write about in my Worthy program. And so I think it's so critical to taking control of your lives and achieving greatness. But don't forget to thank yourself for just showing up and taking the time to be here for you. So if you have any questions, I'm going to give you an opportunity to put those in the chat box. And while you're doing that, I wanted to share with you a couple of things in terms of how you can get in touch with me if you have any additional questions. Say after the call, you think of something and you want to get in touch with me, I'm going to share with you my email, and I'm going to share with you around some of the things that I have that you can stay connected with me if you'd like to do that as well too. So you can reach me at info@BrendaWaltonInspires.com. So if you have any questions afterwards, you can contact me there. I also have a newsletter. So there, I'll include that in the replay. So if you're interested in signing up for the newsletter, it comes out with regular motivation similar to what we did here today. I'm going to have some ongoing complimentary webinars coming up. So now that you're have signed up for this webinar, you're going to be on my mailing list. So watch for some ongoing complimentary webinars. And then I do have, sorry. I do have my 6-week online Worthy program starting at different times throughout the year. So if you're interested in that and want to know more about that, for the folks who signed up on this, for this webinar, and I have you in a list, so I know who you are. For those of you who signed up, I am going to offer that to you at a discount. So if you're interested in a 6-week online Worthy program, it's normally $4.97, and you can get it because you were part of this webinar for $2.97. So if you're interested in that, it's taking you through the 6 steps in the Worthy program. There'll be a workbook that goes with it. There'll be a Facebook group where you can sort of collaborate with the folks who are in the program with you at the same time. So like I said, if you're interested, let me know. I'm always here to support people that I connect with. So if I can support and serve you in any way, just let me know. And I really appreciate it. I had fun today. I love this topic. It's one of my favorite. I don't see any questions in the question box. I do see someone who also loves quotes as much as I do, so I appreciate that. And in closing, I'd really love to hear if there was something in the webinar today that was really inspirational or valuable to you in some way. If you want to comment about that in the comment box, that'd be great. And I'm just happy to support you in any way that I can. And I'll just leave it there and wait a few minutes and see if there are any questions before I close out for the day. I haven't seen any thus far, but if there are any, this is your sort of last call if you have questions for me on the webinar. If not, you can always get a hold of me online. So thank you again. Thanks, Gail. Okay, not seeing any questions come up. I'm going to close the webinar and say thank you for joining me, and watch for the email with the replay link that you can listen to, and or I'll include the YouTube video, the little girl that I mentioned, and the link to the newsletter. So watch for those in your inbox. In the next few hours, I'll probably get a chance to send it out. So thank you, and I will stop recording and have a wonderful day.